What we're going to do now is we're going to be solving equations with natural log and the number e. Now, natural log and the number e are opposites. Whenever we have a natural log and e, that right there equals 1, or if we have e and the natural log, then that also equals 1. So whenever we see a base of e, we know we're going to be using a natural log. And whenever we have a natural log, we know we're going to use a base e. So for the first example, what we're going to do is we're going to subtract 2, and that gives us e to the x equals 8. Then what we have to do is we have to get rid of the base e, so we're going to do a natural log on both sides. That, of course, becomes 1. So what we have is x equals, and then in our calculator, we hit natural log of 8, and that gives us 2.08. Now, if we're looking at letter B, what we're going to do is we're going to go through the same process. We see a base of e, so we know we're going to be using a natural log. Our first step is subtracting the 14, so we get negative e to the 2x minus 1 equals 6. We're going to multiply each side by negative 1, or divide it by negative 1 to get rid of the negative. We're going to do the natural log, and there's a problem. You can't have a natural log of a negative number. So automatically, we're going to stop, and we're going to put no solution. Now, looking at our next example, what we see is that we have a base e, so we know we're going to use a natural log. We want to get the base e by itself, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to add the 5. And when we add the 5, what we get is 22. Then we're going to divide each side by 4. When we divide by 4, it actually reduces, so it becomes 11 over 2. Then what we want to do is we want to get rid of the e, so we're going to do the natural log on both sides. Natural log of e becomes 1, so we have 3 minus x equals. Then we do the natural log of 11 over 2, and that right there gives us 1.70. We subtract the 3, and we get negative x equals negative 1.30. So that means that x equals 1.30. So that right there is how we solve equations with a base of e. Now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at equations that have a natural log. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get the natural log by itself. So we're going to subtract the 5. So we have natural log of x equals 2. Then what we're going to do is we're going to raise it to the base e. E and the natural log cancel, so we get the x by itself. And then what we have is we have e to the second. And e squared is 7.39. Now, looking at letter E, once again, what we're going to do is we're going to get the natural log by itself. So how we get the natural log by itself is we're going to subtract the 1. So we have natural log of x minus 3 equals 5. We're going to get rid of the natural log. So we're going to raise it to base e. Natural log and e become 1. So we have x minus 3 equals e to the 5. E to the 5th is 148.41. Then we're going to add 3. So we have x is equal to 151.41. Last example. Once again, we see a natural log. We're going to get the natural log by itself. We're going to add the 2. Then we're going to divide it by -3. Then we're going to raise it to the base e. When we raise it to the base e, once again, the natural log and the e cancel. This is a little bit different. Notice that on letter B, when we had a negative, it was no solution. But in this case, when we have e to the -7, remember it's the same thing as 1 over e to the 7th. So what we have is a really small number, and that would be 9.12 times 10 to the -4. Now, if you don't like those nasty numbers like that, you could technically just write this as your answer, 1 over e to the 7, and that would be a valid answer also.